हाँ ये पूछना था सर कि क्योंकि 2 hours के रोजाना क्लास होता है, then the material will be too much for the exam to go through ना, all at once. So if we could have an access to these slides in the lectures or the recorded lecture, so from now onwards it will be a huge task to 2 hours of 2 hours each lecture, about 25 lectures, so like 50 hours. So that would be great of you, sir, if you could send it this any link, or I don't know how you are doing for other people.
आपके पास लिंक नहीं है पहले?
No sir, for the materials I don't have any link, sir.
अभी आपको देता हूँ, मेरा ख्याल था कि मैं आपको भेज चुका हूँ.
No sir, when I open it, then it is coming that there are no materials for this record, so something like that.
Let me check. ये बिल्कुल है वहाँ पर.
All of the previous lectures sir, अभी तक जितने हुए हैं उनका अगर ये recording मिल जाए तो then, because I'm please sir.
Recording तो है ही है. आप slides की बात करें ना, physical slides की.
Yes sir. Recording and slides will be same ना sir. In the recording the slides are already there.
तो आपको recording चाहिए? ये आपको लिंक मिला है? शाहान?
Yes sir, this link I have received sir. This I will copy.
The first link is all the material of project management is there.
Okay sir.
I mean all the physical slides and
okay.
And record. Let me see. We have got PMP handbook and all those books are in a folder. Practice exams, various practice exams are there. Thousands of questions. Presentations are there. Recordings.
Okay sir.
Recordings are there of some old lectures, but your session and everything else is on the YouTube.
Okay sir.
You go to this link, not only PMP, you will get recordings of PGMP, PBA, risk management, scheduling management, all the recordings are there.
Okay, that's great sir. I'll just check sir. And the second one. I'm trying to copy it sir.
Okay.
And this link.
Start recording now. Okay, we start today with where we left yesterday. We started off the first chapter and we talked about the definitions and the basic things. And I also showed you this current slide. There are 10 knowledge areas in project management body of knowledge. And previously we talked about 5 process groups. Now, I also said that integration is the knowledge area out of these 10, which is the parent of them all. It is responsible for integrating all other plans. This generally people think that it is just a matter of doing the work on budget, on time, and according to the scope. We have to fulfill the requirement. But it's not only that. We have got lot many other things to look after. In your project, you have to look after the quality. You have to take care of the human resources, other resources. Then we have risks in the project. We do agree with everything, but we do not recognize them as formal processes or as areas of knowledge to be dealt with in the project. So therefore, they are not considered mandatory. In every project, you are doing some of the things are become important there, and you start doing more risk management and less that thing, and this is all the decision of the people. But at the same time, at least I don't mind if you are doing things according to your own needs. But if you are unaware, completely unaware that this could be done in a better manner, there should be the good practices should be known to the people. So they should know that there could be these 10 knowledge areas, and this is good to consider all of them. So when you are planning, you should plan your human resource, you should plan your risks, and you should plan your procurements and everything, stakeholders and everything, you should plan. So PMI has identified these 10 knowledge areas in which integration is as such the overall project management plan, but this ensures that all other 9 knowledge areas are subservient to it, and they submit their ingredient plans to integration, and that forms up into a project management plan. And we'll talk a lot about that. Anyways, we were on the next slide from here, and that was from here we had to start. This is a general slide, therefore don't take a lot of expectations from it. It is just saying in a very, very broad manner that project manager definitely, if he starts a new job, he definitely needs to understand the requirements and to identify the requirements. Now, this is a very crucial thing, because we generally think that whatever has been told to us by our boss is the requirement and the contract and everything, and therefore we are to strictly abide by that. That is not really very true, because the people who have signed the contract, the people who have given you the orders to do this certain job, they might be wrong. What do you think? The contracts are always right? And who were those people who designed it? Who were those people who negotiated that contract? And at what level of detail did they plan the things? Trust me, nobody ever could have planned the project in that level of detail which the project manager can do. They are blind to so many facts which project manager only can see. You see, they take the abstract values. They say, okay, this much rupees per square foot, and therefore this is going to be a building of 6,000 square feet, so this will cost us this much. So broad outlines. They don't count the bricks. They don't count each and everything which is going to be there, and they just create an estimate. So similarly, you go to even government projects, PC1s. What are PC1s? Have you ever created a PC1? What is in PC1? Although it looks very detailed, a BOQ and this and that, but what nonsense is it all about? It is all approximations, and that too very high level, broad approximation. Problem comes when the project manager actually tries to implement that project, and he is given no liberty to think. He is supposed to be a supervisor kind of a person, not a project manager. He is supposed to simply execute the PC1. Now this is pathetic, because if I feel that I have to construct this wall, and the bricks which have been provided to me, which is sanctioned to me, they are not enough to complete the wall, then what should I do? So normally project managers are just supervisors in government projects. They are not given any authority. They are just given a Gantt chart or whatever. Somebody sitting up there with no brains, actually truly saying with no brains at all, has designed something for you. Even if you hire a consultant, even that consultant, how can he know what will exactly be my problems in the project? We have to collect the requirements again from the stakeholders. We have to go back to the stakeholders. Rather, we have to identify more stakeholders. Whatever stakeholders have been told to me, I should think from my point of view that who else can be affected by this project? Who else can affect this project? I will go to those guys. I'll ask them, how are you going to be impacted? What are your needs and expectations? This is very important. We must understand the needs and expectations of all the stakeholders and cater for them. A very simple example I'll give you. When you see the design says, probably I may have given you this example before, but generally, a design says that the construction of this building will have use of a little technical half-inch dia steel bars in the roof reinforcement. So that was design. I have to abide by it. That's it. ऐसे ही होता है ना जी. Now, when as a project manager, I say, okay, this is doable. We can do it. I have done similar projects. So in scope statement, he commits that yes, we can do it. Now see what happens. Then he says, okay, in this building, especially having that reinforcements put into place, I don't have any expertise. I have to hire a contractor. Or for that matter, even if I have to order the material, when I try to order the material, half-inch dia bars, the contractor comes in and he tells me that they are no more being produced. What can I do? So this stakeholder has told me. Nobody else has told me ever before. Everybody designed it and everybody, required it and whatever. Their needs and expectations were half-inch bar. This half-inch bar is no more available in the market. So what do you think? I still can construct that thing exactly as per their requirement? Now this stakeholder has given me a limitation, that constraint, that this size is not available. But another size 3 by 4 inch dia is available, which is more thicker. So should I place it there?
You can, but you have to get some changes approved.
Changes approved. Right. Say I recommend that we use 3 by 4 inch dia steel bars in place of half-inch dia steel bar. There are all stupid people sitting up there. They will say, okay, what else? What will happen? I don't think you have any idea what happens if you put in more strength.
Put in more strength. Weight would be more.
Weight would be more. That is one.
Flexibility would be less.
You see, reinforcement, especially in construction, is such a problem. If you do it excessively, that becomes unsafe. And if you do it less than required, below a threshold, that both ways it doesn't take the strength. If you put a lot of steel or more steel in the roof, the steel will remain, the roof will fall. Right? The concrete will not stick there. And if you put it less, then it will, the whole thing. So it has to be the right mix. So why? Because the half-inch bar is calculated to be placed at a center-to-center distance from each other at a specific calculation. So there is a design for that. It is not the ठेकेदार who makes all the design. It's not dependent on the contractor. This is the proper engineering. How you design that, how to place that. When you are constructing a house, you don't bother about it. You just tell the contractor to do it. And do you think any contractor is ever being engineer? None of those are engineers. There is an infantry guy who is cutting the houses constructed. He doesn't have even the science knowledge. What to talk about engineering knowledge? He was a BA. And he is constructing so many houses and selling them and making so much of money. But that guy is not qualified to do that. If it is only thanks to Pakistan. Otherwise, you can't practice like that anywhere else in the world. You have to be an engineer, a construction engineer, to be doing those kinds of jobs. You have to be properly qualified for that. Now, if I this is my problem, then there must be some people sitting down there somewhere in design department or whatever, and they would review it and they would change the design. That would, because it is more thicker bar, therefore the center to center distance has to be made far apart, and the number of bars would naturally reduce and all that, and design will have to be changed. So it is just not the matter of replacing it with another size of bar exactly at the same places. That will not serve the purpose. That will make this roof more, liable to fall down. That is dangerous. And a lot many things you are yourself know from that area, and you would be knowing a lot many things from your technical field. Shahan is also from he is his own mechanical specialization. He can have similar kind of examples coming up, which we don't know. So those things have to be considered. So who is the best judge? The man who is doing it, right? Not the man who is ordering it. So the man who is ordering it might be wrong. So who will put him wise? If you are a yes man and you said yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, who will put him yes? That is exactly why I said you must learn to say no, but at the same time you should not always say no. As soon as somebody starts speaking, you say no, 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 no. This is normal trend. People start with a no. When you talk to certain people, even if they agree with you, the first word they will utter as a response is no, but I mean, these are the people who are completely not creative, who can't think of anything beyond the logic they know, beyond the experience they have. They don't want to learn anything. So yes, you should stand your ground uh, when you are right. And right means that you must learn to say no to your boss. And remember, a project manager is not just a subordinate. He is basically a consultant to his boss. And the boss should also realize that this guy technically would be knowing better than me and he would advise me to the best. So you are supposed to do your own work and tell your boss that, sir, the contract we have gone through is not right. There are things which are absurd in it. So we might need to renegotiate. He would say, well, who the hell are you? We have done the feasibility study. We have done this. We have done that. We have done 3 months of negotiation. Then we reach it. So can you say that to project manager? Project manager has given his opinion. The feasibility, the contract signing, all that happened in the past, maybe 6 months back. At that time, those things might seem viable. They were right at that point in time technically. Today they are not technically sound. So can't we revisit the contract? We do revisit the contracts all the time. We do renegotiate things. We do change everything. So that's exactly why we need to identify the stakeholders, collect the requirements from them, and then build our case on that. Why are we doing that? We are doing that to develop the scope statement. Scope statement is the statement by the project management manager, and this is the most detailed scope ever created. Scope cannot be created more detailed than a scope statement. Although you can say the contract has a scope, the feasibility study has a scope of the project, charter has a scope of the project. Yes, of course, they indicate the scope, but not in that detail what the project manager can create. So the project manager once creates this, he makes a commitment in that document that this job which you have given me can be done. This is the first thing is he commits, it can be done. Number two, I am capable enough to do it. And number three, this is how I'll do it. Right? You see, if I give you an impossible task, and if you think you can't do it, your scope statement should simply say it cannot be done, it is not viable, and these are my reasons. So somebody can ask you, well, it was viable, then you will have to justify that why it was viable earlier and not viable now. And I think there is nothing wrong about it. This is very natural. This thing does happen, but we just take exception sometimes. So project manager has a bigger role to play. Without his agreeing, without his committing to do something, we cannot move a step ahead. He will not enter into the detailed planning until and unless his scope statement has been cleared by the boss. And boss should also realize that this is just not, he is just not creating problems for me, he is giving me a solution. And again, here I must portray another very important thing is, you would never like a subordinate who is problematic. Whatever you say, he says no. Will you like that kind of a person? Why? He may be right, but he's saying no all the time. He may be right, but saying no outrightly. Well, I would say mostly, and the problems he's posing might be genuine, but I don't like this guy. He always comes in and uh, uh, changes everything. He says this is wrong, sir, this plan is wrong, this contract is wrong. What should he do? This is a problem child, right? A critic, just a critic. So what should he do? If you were that subordinate and you were seeing so many things wrong, but how should you pose it to your boss? I would suggest him the ways to write. Exactly, that is the point. If whenever you offer a problem, you offer a solution as well, not a solution, but a plethora of solutions, more than one. Sir, this is the problem, and this can be fixed this way, this way, this way, this way, and I think this is the best way. So now you leave the decision to him. Now he will be happy because he has options to decide. But if you just dump your problems on his head, then you are not the only one. There are 20 other people under him, and if they all start creating problems, the boss is going to be mad in 2 days. What do you think, right? I agree that he has been promoted to whatever level is because of his work or whatever. He knows more, he's got more experience, more decision power. But the thing is, he can't do the job of 20 people. Those 20 people have to do their job at least. It is their job to suggest the solutions and leave the decision to the boss. So if he can't decide, he may call you again. But normally, when you give him the options and everything, he would be able to decide better using his experience and his seniority, whatever. So this is the primary thing, that you are a consultant to him, you are advisor to him, you are telling him the ways and means in the minutest level, and you are proposing to him that this should be done this way. और अगर देखा जाए तो practically we ultimately do this, but we don't agree. We don't like a person who says no. We need to have yes men all around us. We do not treat a subordinate as a consultant or advisor to us. We treat him as trash, and we don't treat him as a project manager. We treat him as a supervisor. We may call him anything, but we call him, we treat him as a supervisor, that whatever I order you do. What do you mean by that? What kind of autocracy are we talking about? Whatever I do, you do. That means I don't have mind and I don't use it. That is exactly the military attitude. Whatever the boss says, you have to do it. Rather, I would say, even in military, they don't do it like that anymore. There is only some stupid people. Otherwise, even infantry, which is supposed to be the most, less intelligent people, even they, whenever they create an appreciation of the situation, do you know, in the basic training, the lowest level of soldiers are involved in it. It is just not a matter of making decisions. It is the involvement of the lowest level of people at every level. And they design the technical things, and then naturally the boss decides on it, but decides on the options given by them. So even in autocracy, we have a lot of intelligent mechanism working on. And naturally, as the knowledge is enhancing and increasing, the way of thinking is changing altogether. Naturally, with today's IT and all that, things are even more faster. No, as I was probably telling you, when I was told to work on C3 Tech and they asked me these people have to do this, I got out the American plan in front of me. I knew each and everything how the things could be done, and I advised them that this is how that went. They didn't treat it well. What is a major in front of a general? How can he measure both to a general and tell him that this is wrong? But you see, that was not agreed, and ultimately they lost that opportunity. But ultimately, they turned out after many years to be using the same thing they were using, but it should not have been coming from the horse's mouth. So, anyways, we have to be competitive of this, and we have to change our thinking as far as this is concerned. Then addressing the various needs, concerns, and expectations of stakeholders. This I have explained pretty well. As the project is planned and carried out throughout the life of the project, stakeholder is your prime interest. If you forget about your stakeholders, the people who will be affected by this, I am saying I am making this power plant for the citizens of Pakistan. A citizen in Pakistan is still having power shortages and all that. You are not giving any satisfaction to the people. Then there is no fun in this project whatsoever. It has to be, the stakeholder has to be engaged. You have to somehow produce short wins and results through which you can justify your doings, and you have to keep them engaged. I don't say that you provide them all the data, but these projects, why are they stupidly secret all the time? Why is everything government does is a secret? Are there some spy network doing the power plants and everything? It's not only this government. Forever, since Pakistan was created, all the development projects are treated as some top secret project, like weaponry or atom bomb, something like that. A common citizen cannot question uh, how much money and rationale and everything. You see, in previous days, there's a body, UNDP, United Nations body. Although I'm not really in favor of the international bodies interfering in our country affairs, but they are doing some good statistical work and all that. So on CPEC project, they were being very helpful all the time. They asked planning commission and whatever the minister is, S and something, that he should provide him the data of provide them the data of CPEC as if they can analyze statistically and all that. And the response he wrote, although on one hand I do agree that this data may not be provided to certain people, but the thing is, he wrote, anyone who asks for any data of this CPEC project will be treated as enemy of the state. This is written on a piece of on that paper. These are the comments written by Hasan Iqbal. Anyone questioning anything about CPEC will be treated as state enemy of the state. Tell me what nonsense is he talking about? He does not want to release any information to anyone in the world. Nobody knows outside of the planning commission. Rather, the people sitting in planning commission, all of them do not know what is happening in there. So, what is so secret about it? Is it a atomic project or nuclear project or something like that? It is not. But they are keeping that secret. The reason being, they have something wrongdoings going on. Someone was telling me that daily we are getting pictures coming out. This plant has been initiated and this thing has been done. CPEC, Gwadar, something has been constructed. Trust me, people who visited there, they say that is still a desert. Lot many places which they show that here a power plant has come up, or there this building has come up. Those pictures are fake. Nothing has been done at many places. I'm not saying that nothing has been done on CPEC. Lot many things have gone on, but they are mixing truth with all this. Who will go to Gwadar to see that? So only few people, and then naturally this is all a joke, because you say he is lying, he says no, I am not lying, and you are lying, and this blame game starts, and actual truth and false is lost somewhere in the middle. So that is a strategy they play around. So basically, all the stakeholders, the basic principle is transparency. Everybody, every stakeholder must know what he needs to know. The needs and expectations are dictated by the stakeholder. He tells the project manager, and rather project manager himself goes to all the stakeholders who do not know that they are the stakeholders. You see, if I was a project manager of the Gwadar thing, then the people who are living there, I would have gone to their houses or somehow conducted a survey how their life will be affected by construction of this thing. And then would have asked them, what are your needs and expectations from this? They did not know what benefits they can get. So I have to ask them, what are you expecting? And I have to see, well, their expectations are this, and therefore I should accommodate their expectations in the project. If those expectations do not affect my scope, time and cost, then all the stakeholders have to be taken on board. So this is how it is. We will never ask such like questions. I go around at the school time. Have you ever seen these schools which are in the streets? They are completely blocked. The roads are blocked. Why? And the person who is driving through, is he not a stakeholder? Was he ever considered? Was he ever asked whether you should create a school here and your traffic will be stopped here? Are you okay with it? When the metro was constructed, this Blue Area road was completely jammed and blocked. Whole business was jammed. Was Blue Area businessmen ever consulted what will be the effect on their business? They suffered it bit by bit, but the thing was constructed, and naturally we believe on only one thing. Whatever, now we have the metro. Why? At what cost and at what damage? वो तो businessman है. If you talk about me, I had to change my route daily by taking a diversion of say 5 kilometers. So you are adding to normal citizens cost. उसकी he is also paying cost. Taxes तो दे ही रहा है. He is also paying that cost. And for what? I will never have to travel on metro. Trust me. Because metro is designed in such a stupid way that it does not cover all the Islamabad. It passes through, a favorite route, and that's it. If I'm sitting here in Islamabad, why should I not have a metro station right at the corner? Why should metro not be passing through every sector in Islamabad? In France, I have seen in all over the world for that matter, wherever there are such like facilities. In France, a very small town is called Lille, where I was studying. And I believe me, this is a small town. This is not a big thing at all. This is the last town beyond which is, what do you call it? Belgium. The next is Belgium, and anyway, this is the last one. So trust me, every street, every 1 or 2 blocks distance, there is a underground stairs going down, and train comes there. And they have made up, probably it is the size of Islamabad or something like that town. So they have made it a loop, because for bigger cities like Paris, they have many loops crossing each and every area, and trains cross each other, and there is a stop, and when you cross it, then you can go down and sit on the other destination and very quickly go around. But in small towns, they have only one loop, and which is so designed which covers everything, and they move fast trains in that. And the areas which are not covered by that, only those areas are covered by bus, metro bus. It is, what the stupid joke it is to have a metro bus running across two cities. This is utterly nonsense. ये तो फजूल बात है. You go to Europe, you look at, they are so constricted. Roads are small, and because France, Europe, England, etc. They were very poor people, very poor nation. When India was the king of everything, they used to have 2 feet mud in their streets. England and France, they were so poor. You are still able to see their French bread. You know what is French bread? वो लंबी सी रोटी जो होती है, देखा होगा आपने बेकरी में. It is now a fashion. Rich people like to eat French bread. The French bread is like 3-4 feet long piece of hard bread, right? And what is that? You can see it anywhere in France. I have been in France. What is that French bread? That is because they were so poor they could not afford anything. So people used to go out for work in the morning from a bakery. This was the cheapest item. This hard bread is really hard. You can't bite it. This hard bread was their meal for the whole. That is all. We were still lucky when we were poor in Pakistan. We used to have onions and something. People used to take that onions. Those guys have had this stick of bread. बगल में तो भाई होती है, सुबह सुबह जा रहे होते हैं सारे. अभी भी उनके यहाँ फैशन यही है, औकात तो वही है ना उनकी. तो what we'll do is when भूख लगी निकाला, बगल से निकाला, क्लच फिर बगल में डाल दिया. There you go. And when there is a meal time, the only luxury is that they dip it in water and eat. Water. डुबो के खा लेते, नरम करके थोड़ा सा. अदरवाइज ऐसे ही कड़च करते जाते हैं. उनके पास था ही कुछ नहीं. वो उनकी ट्रेडिशन बनी हुई है. दे नाउ यूज इट एंड हैप्पी गो लकी, बस ठीक है. Things are not really that what we imagine them to be. So uh, we have a lot of land. We have, with the exceptions of big cities like Lahore and all that, we are very constricted in some places. Peshawar downtown or all that. The downtowns are busy there in Pakistan. Otherwise, we have no dearth of land. What is the problem? Why can't we create a train network? Like places like Germany is very open, but Spain, France, and many other places, England, many places in England, downtown England, London. These are the places which are historical, and they don't. You have heard about Lahore metro problem. You are running a bus and you are affecting the historical places. Only a bus which could be rerouted here or there. They have run trains, and not a single building of old hierarchy जो भी चली आ रही है was ever damaged. Even they have a rule in France that, in Spain also, that you can reconstruct anything in the building, but the face of the building will never change. The face of the building, the old face of the building will never change. So what they do is they make special arrangements. They remove the whole face. अंदर वो मॉडर्न कंस्ट्रक्शन सारा कुछ कर लेते हैं, बाद में फेस वही लगाते हैं. So, and under them is subway moving around. They have dug down and to a safe distance, and they have created all that. और उसी thick population में से you get the stairs going down and big station down there and subways moving around everywhere in the city. You don't have to walk much, not more than 500 steps either way. You will get a station in the remotest areas of France and everywhere. And if you want to go out, then we have got fast and other things available. So here we just bulldoze everything. We don't consult the stakeholders. We don't, and history is also the stakeholder. उसको भी लिफ्ट नहीं कराते हैं किसी चीज को, एनवायरनमेंट को भी लिफ्ट नहीं कराते. I was having discussion with a person who is working in CPAC, and he was saying we are starting this many coal projects and this and that. I said, isn't coal not safe? Environmentally not safe? वो कहता जी इसीलिए तो तरक्की नहीं करते हम. पागल के बच्चे, तरक्की नहीं करते. Dr. Samarwand have given a solution which is much more effective, in which the local coal, which is otherwise uh, environmentally not sound, and its smoke can be a big hazard. He has given a solution to burn it underground with treating the smoke, and nothing comes out which is harmful. They are not giving money to him. They are giving money to Chinese and using that wasted coal. And when we talk about why are you using it, they say, well, that's why we don't go ahead. हम तो किस वजह से नहीं करते कि आप लोग इस तरह के ऑब्जेक्शन उठाते. So this is utter nonsense. And then they're also creating the coal, other plants, power plants with coal, which are going to be imported. And imported you mean what? It is not going to be the clean coal coming from somewhere else. It would be China giving you the same dirty coal and all that. And beside all that, we also do understand that we are not using the basic natural sources available to us to create power. वो नहीं हमने इस्तेमाल करना, उसमें इनको मौत आ जाती है. डैम बन जाए, इनकी जान निकल जाएगी. सोलर आ जाएगा, विंड आ जाएगी. Solar, wind and everything that had been installed, many corridors are there in Pakistan which can be used, but they will never let you do it. It's not that it's not feasible, it is very much feasible. छोटे छोटे मुल्क सर जो बिल्कुल घटिया मुल्क हैं, औकात नहीं है आपके इस्लामाबाद जितना मुल्क है, they have got all the windmills everywhere. They have got windmills in the sea. In the sea. इतना सा जजीरा है, विंडमिल सी में लगी हुई, वहां से बिजली दे रहे हैं. खैर, एनीवेज, तो सेटिंग अप, मेंटेनिंग एंड कैरिंग आउट कम्युनिकेशन अमंग द स्टेकहोल्डर्स, जिसको आपने आइडेंटिफाई किया है, दैट आर एक्टिव, इफेक्टिव एंड कोलैबोरेटिव इन नेचर, मैनेजिंग स्टेकहोल्डर टुवर्ड्स मीटिंग प्रोजेक्ट रिक्वायरमेंट्स एंड क्रिएटिंग प्रोजेक्ट डिलीवरेबल्स. Naturally, this will be explained more, but we have to handhold him till the requirements of the project is met, and we have to show him all the things, show him the steps, show him the progress, take him into confidence. How can you take citizen of Pakistan in confidence? And that is a very simple way of doing it. You use the media for that. But how do we use the media? मुझे याद है कि ये मेट्रो वाली प्रोजेक्ट था गलबन, जब ये बन रहा था तो मरी रोड was blocked at many places, completely clogged and blocked, and there was no indication, and when you reach that point there is a long queue behind you and nowhere to go. This is the level of awareness you are creating. जो हर दूसरे दिन आपने इतना बड़ा अपना फोटो लगा के अपना एड अपने नाम से देते हो, उसके बजाय भाई जैसे 23 मार्च होती है, एक प्रोग्राम होता है, रास्ते डाइवर्जन ये वो, वहां बड़े याद आ जाते हैं क्योंकि वहां वीआईपीज ने आना होता है. सो व्हाई डोंट वी डू इट हियर? जहां पे आप ऐसी चीज करें, ये मीडिया को इस जगह पे इस्तेमाल करें. द मनी यू आर स्पेंडिंग इन मीडिया फॉर योर पर्सनल एडवर्टाइजमेंट, दैट मनी शुड हैव बीन स्पेंट ऑन दीस थिंग्स. टेक पीपल इन कॉन्फिडेंस, रादर कन्विंस देम. Do TV shows and all those things, convincing them you will be bothered for 2 months and these are the alternative routes, this will add to your cost, we will compensate you, and things like that. That will give a lot of confidence. Otherwise, no matter you are doing a very good project, but everybody will abuse the government. What nonsense, ये क्या हो गया, वो क्या हो गया. So ultimately, and जब चीजें बन जाती हैं तो हमारे जो साइकी नेशन की बन इस वजह से गई है कि जब वो चीजें बन जाती हैं हम कहते हैं अब कर तो हम कुछ नहीं सकते, सो ओके लेट्स लिव विद इट. then we can't argue, we can't question that, because then everything good or bad has been done. All the losses I have borne them, and now nobody is going to get my losses back. Compensate तो नहीं करेगा. Let's कहते हैं when rape is imminent. So, so that is the mentality. Okay, so while you are doing your planning and everything, there are certain project constraints which have to be balanced out, and those constraints could come from many limitations in scope, time, cost. These are the basic objectives. But beyond that, there are other limitations, other constraints also, and this could be the resources, risk, even communication sometimes. Quality is otherwise a major objective also. But the key objectives on which a project stands, the three pillars, these are scope, time, and cost. People call them triple constraint, but that term is no more valid. Triple constraint or iron triangle. This used to be a long time favorite of project management. Triple constraint or iron triangle. Old people were rather no, just few back till few years back. This was very much taught, and some stupid people still teach it. This is no more valid. Now, as you can see here, it says there are more than three constraints, and these are just few examples of the constraints. Risks have been added, and there are even more, right? So these are the constraints, but there is something called project objectives, and those project objectives are scope, time, and cost. These are the three pillars on which your requirement is standing. If your requirement changes, any one of these things will have to be changed, and project objectives will change. These are not only constraints, these are the pillars on which the whole building is standing. And the fourth pillar is also quality can be treated as a fourth pillar, but that is also क्योंकि quality की requirement जो है वो इन्हीं scope time cost के अंदर ही आता है. That's why हम उसको थोड़ा treat नहीं करते उसका. लेकिन ये है कि वो भी treat किया जा सकता है. Okay, one last thing in this topic is potential for change. As we do understand, project is built on uncertainty, that took birth out of uncertainty, and it is going to face a lot of risks and uncertain events throughout the life of the project, which will cause many changes to occur in the project. Although we are doing traditional project management, but changes we can't stop. Changes will come. Those changes are not essentially all the changes from the stakeholder or the customer. They could be from the environment. They could be from the work you do. Your work results will produce constraints on you and force you to change your way of working. Your initial assumptions you have taken may have proven wrong, and therefore you have to change your plan. So change request mechanism in a normal traditional project management is a must, because without that you cannot have any kind of control exercise in the project. If everyone is making changes on their own, then probably the same example of housing directorate, which I told you, that they did not know where the water lines and sewerage lines are, that would occur because you do not carry out the proper change request procedure, and there is no record of all the change. So this thing is called, as you move, so you plan. As you move, so you plan. This is called progressive elaboration. So initially you do plan to the level of detail your mind can think of. Humanly possible. Whatever is possible, you will think. But keep it in mind that the environment is not going to remain the same. And after some time, environment, if changes, then your plan must change accordingly. So as you move ahead in the life of the project, you keep accommodated changes. This is called progressive elaboration. So there are many things which are not clear today. Tomorrow they will get clearer, and then I will plan them. That is exactly the philosophy used in phases. We say, yes, I understand the project and I do have an approach how to address this project, but I will break my project into 5 phases. And at the end of every phase, I will look back and add and see how well I have done this phase and what is the next phase. So I will plan the next phase in thorough detail at that point in time, because at that point in time, I will have more information available, better information available. So I will keep progressively elaborating phase by phase and moving ahead. So this is called progressive elaboration. It is a strategic level concept from a project point of view. Strategic level, because we are now talking about the elaboration of the project, whole project. So whole project is elaborated in phases. So this is strategic in nature, but the same philosophy will have to be used at the bottom level as well. When we are working with activities and work packages, there will be changes in them. There will be progressive elaboration kind of thing going on there. At that place, this same philosophy is not called progressive elaboration. You will learn later that at that stage, at tactical level, that is at lowest level, we call it rolling wave planning. So just remember the word rolling wave planning. It is exactly the same concept as progressive elaboration, but it is the junior level concept, is a tactical level concept. It applies to the bottom level of activities and the work packages. So this deals with the project and the phases, top level hierarchy, and the lowest level hierarchy is the actual activity. So even if I am planning the details of every activity, again the same philosophy, I will plan to the best of my knowledge, but things will change, and when they will change, I will correct them. So as I roll out my plan in first wave, second wave, third wave, as I roll out my plan in waves, I will keep learning more. My plan will be revised. Changes will be inducted into it. So that's how in traditional project management, we still manage changes, but we resist change also. And there is a very genuine reason for that. I'm constructing a bridge, I'm halfway through, and you are telling me that we are thinking of changing the design. So, what do you expect from me? If you are thinking of changing the design, should I break this all apart? This actually happened. I was constructing my first project after I got commissioned, and that was a road from in Kashmir from Kohala to Kalyari. That is, as you go from Murree and cross River Jhelum, the place is called Kohala. Kohala Bridge, exactly. So you turn left towards Muzaffarabad. Don't go towards Muzaffarabad. Turn right. That goes to the Bagh and the port and all that. No, don't go up. There is a road going beside the river, just beside the river throughout. That is 38-kilometer road long, and that turns out to be at the lower end of Pindi, where that place is called Kuliari. That is where the road comes in and joins here from what do you call it? पीछे से road आती है ना पिंडी की तरफ सियाला गालबंदी एग्जैक्टली वो उस तरफ आके मिलती है रोड को तो उस मरी को बाईपास करके आप वहां से आ जाते हैं So this was an alternate route. This was a strategic road developed by, rather you can call it a defense road. This was a defense road, alternate route बनाने के लिए ये road बनाई गई थी. वहाँ पे एक bridge भी था. We had to construct a bridge. That was a unique experience. That was first of its kind. उसे कहते थे जी pre-stressed concrete, pre-stressed, pre-casted concrete bridge. Precasted तो पता ही होगा ना आपको where you make the things earlier and then put them in and slabs भी होती हैं आज to precasted but that was pre-stressed means when you pass vehicles or wait over the bridge no matter it is concrete or glass whatever everything dips down so the bridge dips down and then comes up so every time it goes down, it doesn't come up the same to the same level. Again, a bit technical. So what did we do in that? We kind of put springs into it, and it's not really the springs. Actually, what we do is um, we put bars into it in such a way that those bars are not casted into the steel. There are tubes, and then there are bars passing in it, and those bars are like arc. Now the bridge is not straight. Bridge is like this, right? So those bars, they act like spring. So when load comes over it, it will go like this. The maximum load will make it straighten up. So this is like this. It doesn't appear, apparently when you pass over the bridge, it doesn't, it looks like a straight bridge, but actually that is higher in the middle, and that is due to that thing. So that was the first experience. I think at that time in Pakistan there was no pre-stress bridge, and we had that thing. And there were the similar kind of changes happening. And if actually we were two people, we were two postmates. We were posted at the same time in the same unit. I was on one side of the bridge, he was on the other side of the bridge, and he was responsible for the abutment. Abutment is place where we put the bars. So first we have to create it, make it strong. So I was he was on the other side, I was on the far side, and we were constructing our thing. So at that stage, we were told that this is the design and all that. And later on one day somebody said, well, we had to fill this with that kind of stone. So how can you do that? You can't break open everything and you can redesign everything. So in engineering, these things are difficult. But if you would have told me earlier that you are going to change your mind, I give you the example of a Lego set. Lego set is a very good example of modular design. You can, keep changing your design all the time. You can put a Lego set from here to here. And that exact same thing is happening in today's construction. You might have heard about Chinese building a multi-story building, you know, 20, 30 story building in one day or 2 days. How does that happen? That is exactly the philosophy of Lego. They are, the whole apartments are prefabricated, pre-furnished, everything pre. All pipes, line, everything is already pre-cast cast and ready. They just lift it with a crane and fit into the building. Furniture लगा हुआ है, सब कुछ है. The only thing, the few minutes they need, and that people go in and they link the pipes, plug, 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 water pipe, this pipe, that pipe, gas pipe, all things are linked. And while the construction of the building is going on, people are living in it. So won't you call it agile? This is very much agile. And somebody says, I don't want this apartment, I want that. On that side view, I like. So they will just simply go there and nikala aapko idhar se nikal do idhar. So this can be done. क्यों जी शाहन?
Correct, sir. Understood. What I want to add one more thing, sir, in this. If your client is not clear what he wants in the initial stages, so better we should turn towards software, sir. On a software we can show him what would be the the nearly completed model. So in that case, if he makes his mind, you can do thousands of iterations on a software without having any bigger costs. Only the man hours will be spent. So that is one of the solutions to this sort of problems, sir.
But Shahan, that is only at the stage of planning. I am saying
correct, sir.
The client, the customer is going to change his mind every time, anytime, right in the end of the project, anytime. So
correct, sir.
That you should spend more time in planning, do modeling and simulation, convince them. That is a good way of stakeholder engagement. But even then, consider this point that you might have genuinely to change certain things which are otherwise impossible to change. So this example which I have given you, this modular design example, modular design is very much agile. You can, what I can say, make changes on the run. Make changes on the run. That is exactly the philosophy of Agile. Anji? Modular design. Exactly. These are Lego parts. They are Lego parts. They can be put anywhere where they fit. They can be put everywhere. Like, you buy a sofa. There is a corner piece. There is a this piece, that piece. Now, how you join it, this is up to you. This is a modular sofa. Right? You want to make it straight along the wall and then turning like this, or you want to use those pieces separately. This is that. Or you can buy a proper sofa which has only one design and can only be placed in one way. So today we are going agile. If you way of life you look at, we are going agile in everything, and in future it is just going to be agile. Here you think, there is none. It is not only IT which is agile, everything is going to be agile ultimately. In 6th edition of PMBOK, they are adding agile tools and techniques to every knowledge area. All the 10 knowledge areas will have agile tools and techniques. Anybody wants to use, he can use. And subsequently, they're also working on agile practice guide. And subsequently, I am sure that PMBOK is going to be completely turned over into agile. Traditional will be an old story. Traditional project management will be an old story. But it is not going to be that fast. They took quite some time reaching here, and I expect that 3 to 5 versions of PMBOK means 20 years, 15 to 20 years it will take to complete turnover the whole project management. But somebody told me it is always the जैसे कहते हैं ना, warm things which actually you must invest on. Don't invest in hot items, because hot item is hot now and is soon going to go down the well. Anything which is getting warmer, any concept, any idea which is getting warmer, invest in that idea. That will get hot and earn you the investment, earn your investment back and give you profits. So always invest in a lukewarm, rather I say, a lukewarm concept. So agile is lukewarm for all other industries. It is good to invest in that, to learn about it, because ultimately you are going to reap benefits of it. But rather you will be the only expert in there. Like back in 2000, when I started working on project management, I was I think second PMP in Pakistan. First one person he did earlier than me. At that stage, I did not know this thing exists. Anyways, so I started learning at that point in time, although they were very hard times, and the existing industry was not ready to accept a PMP. Everybody, was a lord in himself, and everybody was claiming 30, 50 years of experience in whatever they were doing. And if a single person comes to you and tells you might be doing it wrong, then they are offended. So they used to challenge us. But now you see, all the industry is at least appreciating and asking for PMPs worldwide, even in Pakistan. So we have got a huge number of PMPs right now, like probably over 6,000 or so. We have got a number of PMPs. So this just came out of these last 17 years. We have all this strength coming up. So in progressive elaboration, we are actually continuously improving and detailing our plan. Go into further more detail, which was not otherwise visible. Detailing our plan as following becomes available. And what are these? We have more detailed information. We move ahead and plan further. More specific information, which was not available earlier, and more accurate estimates. There are certain things we can just guess how much they will cost. But now, as the facts are laid bare in front of you, so you would be able to find the exact estimates, which could be different than your estimates. So you should replace that. Allows a project management team to define work and manage it to a greater level of detail as the project evolves. So detail increases as we move ahead in the project. So I have discussed progressive elaboration with you, and I know there is a normal trend. People, by the time I reach rolling wave planning, after many, many days, you would have forgotten about progressive elaboration. And at that time, I will ask you question, what is rolling wave planning, and you won't have an answer. So please remember that this is a related concept. Progressive elaboration is the same concept at the higher level, at the strategic level, and rolling wave planning, which will be discussed later when the activities are designed. That is the tactical level concept, and this is the same thing, building as we move. So no matter we are talking agile or not, but change is a fact. Change happens, and even in traditional project management, there is a way to accommodate change. We do not always say no to everything. We still accommodate people's ideas, but then we have limitation of we don't want to get the scope of the project affected. So if at all that is affected, actually there are three things, as I said, three objectives: scope, time, and cost. Anything which affects the project scope, project time, or project cost is a change. If anything else is affected, we are not bothered. Because if anything else will be affected, scope, time, and cost will be affected. Therefore, our human resource runs away. So, scope, time, or cost. If communication is not proper, scope, time, and cost. Everything has impact on scope, time, and cost. Therefore, uh, when we make any decision about project, ये हमारे तीन मुकद्दम चीजें. In scope, time, and cost, we look at things from scope, time, and cost perspective and see if there is a change. If there is no change in scope, time, and cost, we just replace the person with another person who can do equally good. So, what is the need for a change request? So, such like changes which do not need a change request are within the power of the project manager. He should not be asking stupid questions from his boss. Sir, should I breathe now? No, what nonsense. You can breathe anytime you feel like. So only relevant things, and that is called management by exception. I will go to my boss only in exceptional situations and get him involved where I need his. And he will also, the other meaning is, he will also not try to micromanage. He will only interfere with the project when I need him, or he needs to, on a pre-scheduled or जो भी कोई उसका वो बना हुआ है, उसके हिसाब से उन चीजों को देखेगा. हर वक्त आके मेरी उंगली पकड़ के ये नहीं करना शुरू. वेरी नॉर्मल. वेरी दिस प्रॉब्लम इज देयर बिकॉज मैं उसकी वजह आपको बताता हूँ. प्रॉब्लम इज द पीपल हु गेट प्रमोटेड टू हायर रैंक्स, दे आर नॉट कैपेबल टू बी देयर. एक है आईटी प्रोफेशनल है जी, वो प्रोग्रामर है. ही इज गुड प्रोग्रामर, ही इज एक्सीलेंट प्रोग्रामर, ऑल राइट. ही इज नॉट अ लीडर. यू प्रमोट हिम टू द लेवल ऑफ द चेयरमैन ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. औकात उसकी प्रोग्रामर वाली है. Technically, he is very sound, but he is not a leader. He cannot get the job done from people. He will never be able to get job done from them. Whenever there is a problem, he would not be able to explain himself to his subordinates, and he will try to go and try to do those things by himself. And thus, he proves himself to be a programmer ultimately, who cannot get the job done from his subordinates, cannot influence them, cannot motivate them, cannot educate them. I had a person here in this office. We then were doing software development job, and I had various sections of geographic information system and software development and web development. So the in charge of web development was a guy named as Asad, and he was excellent. The ideas on web pages and graphics and design and everything. He was excellent. Nobody else out of the other 5, 6 team members was as capable as him, and their progress was always very less. Uh, I promoted him to the team lead position, and I told him that train these people as you work, exactly as you work. I want they all to be on the same performance level as you are. Now what happened? He was not a leader. Now what he did was, firstly he was working with them on friendly basis with them, so he could not order them. Now if somebody is doing something wrong, he would go and he would say, okay आप जरा हटे ना please, उसकी जगह बैठे, and he would work for 3-4 hours and fix that problem, and then he will move on to the other person. Then what happened was nobody else was working and only he was working, and the net result was even lower than, the performance was even lower than before, because previously he was dedicatedly working on his job and he was producing good result. Now he was working for others, part here, part there, and no results are being produced ultimately, or the results which are produced, they are not as good enough. And the progress which those guys were otherwise producing, that comes to a halt completely. So, and exactly same thing which I was telling you about Nadra. This guy, Slim Mohin, when he was promoted a chairman, he adopted exactly the same policy. He would go down to a data entry operator. और तुमको काम नहीं करा तो उठो यहाँ से, मैं करके दिखाता हूँ। यार तुम चेयरमैन हो, अपने ऑफिस में जाओ, अपना लीडरशिप करो, जो कुछ करना है. When you start doing the job of a clerk, then you are a clerk. Who is manning the chair top up there? Who is the leader now? तो इसको उधर भेज दें, फिर आप खुद आपने इधर ही बैठना है, आपकी ये औकात है, तो उसको उधर भेज दें. आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट वी शुड नॉट गो एंड विजिट देम एंड चेक देम एंड सी देम और टॉक टू देम. वो सब अपनी जगह पर है. और वो कभी कभी होता है कि फॉर्मेलिटी के लिए कभी आप बैठ के, जैसे वो क्या कहते हैं, दरख्त लगाना है तो आप उसमें बेलचा मार रहे हैं. That is another thing. That doesn't mean that that is your job and you do it daily. That means that you are being supportive and you are you are with them in all the up, even in your in defense forces also. We go down to every level. We have been digging trenches with our troops, and that is truly to encourage and motivate them, not for the reason that there was a less manpower. सो वो एक अलग बात ही अलग है. लड़ना अलग, कट्टे जीना, कट्टे मरना, कट्टे खाना, कट्टे, वो बातें अलग है. लेकिन बात ये है कि आपका काम लीड करना, प्राइमरी काम लीड करना. लीड करने को छोड़ के हम दूसरे काम शुरू कर दें तो वो बात नहीं बनती. तो these problems are there और उनको थोड़ा ट्रीट करने की जरूरत है. अच्छा जी, तो ये किधर ही बच गया जो छोटी मोटी बातें की हैं. अच्छा शाहन
सर
जी, एनी कमेंट्स? मैं अभी ये 1.4 आगे कल ही शुरू करूंगा.
Okay, no problem, sir. Well and good, sir. Many practical things you told us today, sir. There is an unfortunate affair in Pakistan, sir. State of affairs. This metro project was going on. One of the our teachers in Zabist, he was from government side. He's I think a bureaucrat, a high-level bureaucrat in government. He was teaching us the fundamentals of project management. One day he missed the class, sir. Okay. And then he was not coming. The other day when we asked him, yesterday you did not show up. So he told that he was asked by the Prime Minister, 9 o'clock there was a meeting, and they highlighted to the Prime Minister, our Muhtaram Nawaz Sharif, that the environmental impact assessment study is yet to be done for this metro project. Yeah, so that the report has not come, so what to do? We have to wait for the report and see what is the impact. No, the Prime Minister directed, no, I want the work to be started from tomorrow only. So that happened. I have dust allergy, sir, and I was one of the affectees. I was going from G91, I used to live there with my family. I used to go from there to H8, that Zabist campus. But it was horrible, sir. Dust all around and all this. So yes, practical. Yes, sir. I was in the beginning. I told you, no, sir, that I was doing a project management degree, but somehow in the middle, then again this job nature. I went to Oman, then to Iraq, then to idhar-udhar. So yes. In between I was doing this, sir. कोई almost 4 महीने तक मैं पढ़ता रहा हूँ. असल में स्टोरी ये है सर, मैं जापान जाना था. मैंने योकोहामा जापान में मेरी असाइनमेंट थी. चिवेडा कारपोरेशन एक कंपनी है वहाँ पे. तो वॉरली पर्सन जो एक ऑस्ट्रेलियन का रिसोर्स के तौर पे उनका अपना वहां पे उनको कोई जरूरत था इस तरह का बंदा। तो वहां का वीजा नहीं लगा सर, 4 महीने तकरीबन 3-4 महीने वो प्रोसेस, कोई 23 डॉक्यूमेंट्स मांगे उन्होंने। 20 डॉक्यूमेंट्स तक मैं प्रोड्यूस कर चुका सर, वो 23 डॉक्यूमेंट्स तो कोई 4 महीने लगे, तो उनका प्रोजेक्ट सफर हो रहा था। उन्होंने कहा नहीं ये नहीं हो सकता, फिर मुझे दोबारा इराक भेजा। तो उन 4 महीनों में बहुत ज्यादा घर में बैठ बैठ के, जो बंदा बहुत ज्यादा मसरूफ रहता है सर, he can't just sit in house and look around the walls and all this. So I started to doing this project management.
Okay.
Then it became interesting each day. So what till 2018 I have this opportunity to complete it. But still 1 year है सर अभी देखे. If I'm doing a PMP, then I think that would be more than getting the degree from Zabest, which nobody will ask.
I was telling you, PMP is just the doorway. You enter into it, and there is a complete magic word out there. You just in the beginning, the first tier of the staircase. You do PMP, and you will know.
Yes sir, yes sir. Professionally, I'm a mechanical engineer, sir. I have done my mechanical engineering from NUST, EME College.
Okay.
And then from 2008, I have been working outside Pakistan. So yes, these sort of things are there, sir.
आप अरामको के साथ काम तो नहीं कर रहे हो?
नहीं सर, अरामको के साथ नहीं, ये एक पेट्रोफेक एक कंपनी है। मैं काफी कंपनीज के साथ काम कर चुका हूँ सर। यूजुअली प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं, तो देन द प्रोजेक्ट ड्यूरेशंस आर टिपिकली 12 months, नहीं तो 18 months, 24 months, 30 and 36 months. इस मैक्सिमम प्रोजेक्ट मैंने 36 months का देखा है.
Okay.
So typically to the other project or shifting the company like that.
What kind of?
You're saying that we are on the first step of the staircase.
Oh, that I was actually the next slide starts the steps. Program, project, and then specialization, like risk scheduling, and then alternate areas like PBA and all that. This is within the domain of the PMI we are talking about. So the whole wide world out there. And beyond that, we have got, as I told you, a number of standards which are not, there are no certifications with them, but there is a lot of knowledge down there. And, the completely new way of thinking. And if you want to, this is one big library. And then if you move out of it and you go to UK, there is yet another big library of APMG. वो भी एक दुनिया है, never ending. नहीं, वो UK का project management का style है, and that is even more detailed. That is more detailed with the governmental procedures, and you will say what nonsense are we doing in Pakistan? PC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there is definitely, we don't need to, start doing projects out of the just ये कह रहे हैं कि बस कर दो, ना visibility ना कुछ, भाई procedure तो set करो अपने सारे, उनके बने हुए हैं यूके के, और कुछ नहीं, कॉपी कर लो यार, क्या मसला क्या है, मतलब लाजमी है कि ओपन बने हुए हैं और आप उनको कॉपी करें और करें. I was once asked by these Jeddah municipality people that we are following Prince 2 and this and that, and we need civil engineers. Now this is very difficult in Pakistan. First, getting a PMP who is civil engineer who is a PMP or who follows the UK standards. They wanted a PMP who knew about the UK standard and who had worked on those standards. Now I said why? Because उनका तो प्रॉब्लम आपको पता ही है ना, उनके ऊपर या तो अमेरिकी बाबा बैठा होता है या ब्रिटिश बैठा होता है. So the company which was contractor was British. They designed everything. Okay, fine, कर लिया डिजाइन उसने. अच्छा, मैंने आपको बताया था, the person who was sitting on top was a corrosion engineer with no background in construction and project management. Nothing at all. He was a corrosion engineer. Shah Khan might be knowing what is a corrosion engineer.
Yeah.
So that guy had no knowledge whatsoever, and he was sitting at a position of a program manager, right? and they told me that they asked me my advice, and I told them that you have to, if you want to follow that system, you have to develop a governance structure, and APMG, or UK government, has created a governance structure, and they certify on that. So you can take example, I can give you the governance structure, you can develop their own. Our director says that the Korean guy, he says that no, we will get certification from UK. पागल है, दिमाग खराब है तेरा, यूके से सर्टिफिकेशन कैसे लेनी है? सर्टिफिकेशन तो वो अपने लोगों को देते हैं ना, मिसाल के तौर पे a contractor has to be certified to work in UK. So we are developing something for Jeddah. This is something else. We can, ज्यादा आपको तकलीफ है, आप उनको लिखें खत कीजिए, हम आपका स्टैंडर्ड से एक्सट्रैक्ट ले रहे हैं और हम उससे अपना स्टैंडर्ड डेवलप करें, कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है तुम्हें, खत्म होगी बात। नहीं जी, उनसे जाके सर्टिफिकेशन लेनी है। मैंने कहा भाई चलो तुम कोशिश कर लो, बट दिस इज नॉनसेंस। आई टोल्ड हिम, फोन पे बात हुई मेरी, दिस इज नॉनसेंस, दे विल टेल यू दैट। When he came back, he told me that they have refused because you are not working for us. If it was a project working for UK or working with UK in any ways, we could have give you the certification. But you are a independent company, you are working for Saudi Arabia. तो दिमाग खराब हुआ है कि हमसे आगे इजाजत लेके जाओगे, हम तो हमें आगे चेक कराओगे, पागल हो गए हो तुम? बनाओ अपना, करो। उन्होंने कहा जी नहीं, ऐसे ही होगा। ना किया, ना करने दिया, ना उसने मुझे काम करने दिया और ना उसने वो करने दिया। एंड दैट्स हाउ, ऐसे ही होता है। बद्दू तो बिल्कुल ही दिमाग खराब है, उसका समझ नहीं आता। पहले वो किसी को बम करते रहते हैं। अच्छा, अमेरिकन एंड ब्रिटिश दे हैव नो प्रॉब्लम विद, उनको तो वो बिल्कुल सर का ताज रखते हैं, अपने लोगों को रगड़ते भी रहते हैं। उन्होंने अपने मेयर को उठा के जेल में डाल दिया। वो प्रोजेक्ट फेल हुए, एक वो रेनफॉल हो गया था, उससे काफी नुकसान हो गया था, पकड़ा मेयर को अंदर कर दिया। तो उनकी ये पलटा पलटी चलती रहती है। बट एनीवेज, really very difficult. Shah Khan would be, you are in UAE. UAE is much better. If you have you worked in KSA, Saudi?
No, sir. People, one of my cousins is a consultant to Saudi Telecom, sir.
Okay.
He's saying a bit difficult, yes. Here it is a multicultural and a cultural melt point, sir, this Dubai.
Yes.
All the nationalities, and if you live downtown Dubai, it is like Europe, and the Jumeirah beaches and all. If you go there, you will not see that this is Arab world. So it is, here is a totally different thing, sir.
Exactly. This is not even a Muslim word. I don't.
Correct. Dubai is a livable place, sir, for everybody. If you are a devoted Muslims, mosques are open. They are very clean and everything. If you are like a party going person, the bars are open. It is such a nice country for everybody.
Yeah. This is made for this purpose. There is no other purpose. They don't have oil. They don't have nothing. This experimental ground. This was experiment ground for them. American, British, दुनिया यहाँ के तजर्बे करती है, पुट्टी चीजें बनाएंगे और इनका पैसे पे at their cost. This is the fun of it, ना? At their cost, they're fulfilling their desires. Palm Island, पागल हो गए, दिमाग खराब है। मेरा मतलब लोग भूख से मर रहे हैं दुनिया में और ये पाम आइलैंड बना रहे हैं और पता नहीं क्या कर रहे हैं।
One thing is, sir, our country is rich in everything, sir. We have everything. It's the most beautiful country in the world, sir. Going to the top mountains, coming down to the plains, down to like port cities like Karachi, Gwadar, and all this. It is amazing. But what we are doing, sir, what I want to highlight is, see the north of Pakistan where I belong. A lot of fruit is being, sir, without cold rooms and all this. It is wasted. We cannot get to the international market, and the government is all doing all this, as you said, metros and all this, which are not required. They should focus on this, the real problems of Pakistan. Here, what I'm doing, sir, I'm working here. I'm getting a good salary. The apples are coming from the US, New Zealand, Australia, and all these countries, not from Pakistan. It's just 2 hours flight from here, sir. You see the bed यू नो बदकिस्मती है हमारी, तो इस तरह के मार्केट में भी हम नहीं ला सकते ये
नहीं ला सकता। मतलब आपको शायद पता नहीं है, यहाँ पे मैं पिछले काफी सालों से ऑब्जर्व कर रहा हूँ, केले का साइज जो है उंगली जितना हो गया है अभी। ये जो इतने एग्रीकल्चर में पीएचडी करवा के आए हैं, अंडे देने के आए हुए हैं।
करेक्ट सर, करेक्ट।
हाँ जी।
This was like 7-8 years ago. I had one of my family members, far-fetched family members. They were very big Jagirdar type.
Okay.
And he was moving out.
Mm-hmm.
He was selling his land.
Okay.
And moving out to probably somewhere in Canada or somewhere.
Very
He was already selling, in the process of selling his land and slowly gradually. He was discussing this Kela business. He was in the Kela business.
Okay. Okay.
कहता है हुआ केले के साथ ये कि केले की फसल को 3-4 साल के बाद केले का पौधा काट के नया लगाना पड़ता है, उसको ग्रो करना पड़ता है, और केले की फसल को ग्रो करना अपने बच्चे को ग्रो करने से ज्यादा मुश्किल काम है।
Exactly.
You have to have, कहता है वो माँ की तरह जो है ना बंदे काम करते हैं, केला इतनी आराम से करता है, कभी छोटा हो जाता है, कभी टूटा हो जाता है, कभी कच्चा रह जाता है, कभी कुछ हो जाता है। There is a lot of stuff that you need to have good read of Kela. Together by all chances, we are going to lose it. Because what is happening right now is कि केले के जो workers हैं ना, वो भाग रहे हैं पाकिस्तान से। उनको अट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं मिडिल ईस्ट में भी, इंडिया में भी लोग अट्रैक्ट कर रहे हैं। आप देखेंगे इंडिया केला बड़ा हो गया, पाकिस्तान
yes.
और वो फीका है, लेकिन वो लोग ले रहे हैं बिकॉज दूसरा केला बहुत ही छोटा हो गया। हालांकि नॉर्मल केला जो हमारा होता था वो हैंडसमली गुड, लेकिन वो उस वक्त मुझे लगा कि ये मुझे बताया कि ये केला जो है खत्म होने वाला है, खत्म हो गया जी। केले का वर्कर भाग रहा है, मिल ही नहीं रहा। तो आपको मुश्किल से मिलता है और वो बस इतना होता है, बिल्कुल आपको वैल्यू नहीं मिलेगी, आपको बिजनेस वैल्यू नहीं मिलेगी। एग्जैक्टली। Ultimately, वो business खत्म हो जाएगा। Yes. So there are lot many things we have to think about. So let's do something about it. Anyways, I think we should close down today, and again we'll meet tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Inshallah, sir. Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Take care.